It's the cement that holds the castle of cuisine together. We're going to talk about the single most important food of all today on the Carefree Cooks Code. I'm Chef Todd Moore, and this is the Carefree Cooks Code, every Tuesday live at noon Eastern. Here's our challenge. How can home cooks cook freely with creativity, confidence, and pride while ignoring recipes and still impressing themselves and others with what they cook? Well, the answer is found in becoming empowered with how cooking works, using dependable and repeatable methods of cooking that work for any ingredient, for any diet, and any desire, just like chefs do. And we'll know we've cracked it when everyone sees cooking as an exciting and rewarding way to improve their relationships, their lifestyles, and their health through better food and cooking. This is the Carefree Cooks Code. Hey, welcome back to the Carefree Cooks Code, everyone. We are live every Tuesday at noon Eastern. If you're shocked and surprised by this revelation, you should have gone to webcookingclasses.com/live and registered for my live alert system, because I would have told you that in about 15 minutes we're going to be live, because we're the Carefree Cooks, right? We create our own recipes. We bring our friends and family together around our cooking. We learn every time we cook, an important distinction. We define our own cooking styles because we practiced pro methods and we love our cooking. That's what the Carefree Cooks community is all about. It's a revolution spreading throughout the world. And when I say the world, you wouldn't believe where I get emails from. But for today, Peter is with us. Welcome, Peter. First one in class. 1,000 extra points for Peter. Bob is with us, and Lisa and Diane and Candy and Brenda and Kelly and Bruce and Carrie and all our friends and family, and Grammy and Guy and Jana. Everybody's here saying good morning. Welcome, Chef. This is great. It's noon Eastern. If it's morning where you are, good morning to you. So I love seeing the same names week after week. So what are we going to do today? Oh, we're going to start with a true or false. Here's the true or false game, and tell me in the comment section below if you think this is true or false. The food statement is the color of an egg is determined by the breed of the hen, not what the chicken eats. True or false? Tell me about this in the comments below. So what is this? What is this mystery ingredient that I've been talking about? I guess I just gave you a clue. What is the cement that holds the castle of cuisine together? Well, you'd be shocked because it is something so exquisitely simple, but so enormously complex. It might be nature's perfect food, and it's my personal food crush is what it is. It's the amazing egg is what it's about. And nature designed the egg as a food source for developing chicks. What? What's wrong? Oh, a blue chicken? Where'd the blue chicken come from? Where do you think Easter eggs come from, if not blue chickens? I mean, come on. Anyway, when the egg is not fertilized, it becomes a food source for human beings. And eggs are perhaps the most versatile food item in the kitchen. They can be served alone. They can be served as an ingredient in another dish. I mean, think of all the things that eggs do. They contribute a great texture. They contribute structure to baked items. They retain moisture. They give you such great nutrition in everything from soups to sauces to breads and pastries. And in chicken eggs, I'm talking about eggs, in particular, chicken eggs are an excellent food source for humans because of their high protein content. They have a low cost. They're easily available. You don't have to buy, there's no such thing as a very fancy egg. You can get very fancy beef. You can get the most exotic of seafood. But really, you don't have to import eggs from somewhere else. There's no $1,000 egg for you to eat. They're so simple. They're so cheap. And I have such a serious love affair with eggs. People call me crazy. And I'll tell you what, when my doctor told me to give up eggs because of these alleged cholesterol problems, I gave up my doctor instead. See ya. I don't love my doctor the way that I love eggs. And I would never forsake the most amazing food ever known to mankind just because of what my doctor said. Huh. So, first of all, the egg is natural, right? A real egg is made from a hen. Okay? There's not a factory making egg product, you know, or, I mean, I guess there is. I mean, hey, I want to be sensitive to everybody here, but I'm going to give you my opinion, okay? Eggs are made in a hen, not in a factory, and eggs are not made out of tofu. For goodness sake, if you want to eat tofu, eat tofu. What do you got to make tofu look like an egg for? And this is really important, because I don't want you to kid yourself. The main benefit of eating eggs is the tremendous nutritional value that you get from it. And there's an organization called the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, and it studies the rate of efficiency in which a protein is used for the human body. The basic idea is it's this biological value of food items that they assign to foods all over the world, because this UN task force is trying to figure out how to feed the world, right? Like, if you had a food that was readily available, really inexpensive, can be grown just about anywhere, wouldn't this be the answer to a lot of starvation, a lot of problems? So this is why the UN looks into things like this. And what do you think they said? What do you think they said some of the most efficient proteins for the human body are? And this is an idea of how quickly the body can put a protein into use. How quickly it can put the fuel that you're giving your body into building muscles, into repairing cells, into strengthening synapses. This is the question that they pose. So they put together a scale from 1 to 100, with 100 representing the top efficiency. Again, a food in your mouth, how quickly does it help your body? This is the idea. And beef, high protein, right? Beef came in at 74 on the 1 to 100 scale. Fish came in at 76 on the 1 to 100 scale. Milk, you would think cow's milk would be great for protein. We feed it to infants. This is something that would feed the world, right? Well, the milk, cow's milk, it came in at 85. But you know what? The top of the list, eggs, 93.7, by far the highest. The metabolizable protein from eggs is the best food that you can eat. And again, I don't want to seem like I'm picking on them, but don't put so much faith in some of these other things. For you vegetarians, beans, avocados, soy, rice, they all fall well below beef on the scale. And I'm not saying that you should eat beef. I'm saying you should eat eggs. You know, vegetarians should have more egg in their diet. It's opinion, okay? Again, my opinion. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm a chef. I just want you to cook stuff. My main thing is that you cook stuff. And eggs is a great thing to cook. It falls under the stuff category. So, you know what the UN said? Ultimately, this big, long report that they put together, eggs, they contain the highest protein known to mankind. And based on the essential amino acids it provides, egg protein is second only to an infant's mother's milk for human nutrition. So if you're not an infant and you don't have you can't find a breast somewhere, sorry, I'm being silly, okay? I'm really being silly today. Eggs are the best thing, short of an infant's mother's milk. So let's break this down. Let's not be silly. Let's be real about this. Let's start talking about the parts of an egg. And the primary parts of an egg are the shell, the yolk, and the albumin. Now, the shell is composed of calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate prevents microbes from entering and moisture from escaping. An eggshell is nature's perfect wrapping. Can you imagine if other foods came in that impermeable shell? They would stay fresh forever. And this protects the egg during handling and transport. And let's remember that color has no effect on the quality, no effect on the flavor, no effect on the nutrition. A white egg and a brown egg are both eggs equal in that amount. And I'm sorry about my slides there. Had an editing problem, but nonetheless, let's move on. The yolk, everybody knows the yolk, that's the yellow part of the egg. But the thing about the yolk is that it constitutes only a third of the mass of the overall weight of the egg, only a third of the mass, but 3/4 of the calories, the minerals, the vitamins, and 100% of the fat. So the smallest mass of the egg really has the most going on. You know, it's almost a Pareto principle of the smallest item taking care of the largest. We'll talk about that another time. The egg yolk has lecithin. Lecithin is the emulsifier that helps us make mayonnaise, that helps us bring two unmixable items together. I think we've talked about emulsifiers before. Oh yeah, when we did salad dressings only a few weeks ago, we talked about emulsifiers. Now, there's a difference between an egg white and an egg yolk because an egg yolk will coagulate between 149 Fahrenheit or 158 degrees or 65 to 70 Celsius. This is slightly lower than the white. We'll talk about that in the middle. And again, the color, oh goodness, I think I just gave away the true or false. I didn't mean to do that. The color of the egg is entirely based on the feed. Oh, the color of the yolk. No. Totally different thing. I was like, what? Why did I put that in there for? The color of the yolk is entirely dictated on the feed. What the chicken eats is going to give you a brighter, yellower yolk or a duller yolk. No quality indication there. It just gives you the color. The albumin is the part that everybody knows. Sorry about that. Everybody knows is the egg white. The albumin is the egg white. This is the clear portion of the egg, and it takes up 2/3 of the mass of the egg and contains more than half of the protein, but none of the fat. And the white coagulates at a lower temperature, at about 144 to 149 or 62 to 65 degrees Celsius. So why is this important? Those of us that cook with quantifiable temperatures, okay, those of us that are carefree cooks and we measure and we see, and I'm not talking about measuring ingredients for a recipe, we measure results, okay, either internal temperature or water in the pan to visually see how it evaporates, or looking for caramelization of sugars, or witnessing the coagulation of proteins and the point, the moisture rising to the top of your steak. This is what I mean by measuring with your eye, not with a tablespoon or a cup. So those of us that measure these things and know that an egg white is going to coagulate, stiffen, and shrink or cook at a lower temperature than the yolk will, what does that tell you about making your egg white omelet? Right, you need a lower temperature. If you're browning your egg white omelet and you're making it crispy, you're cooking it at way too high a temperature. As a matter of fact, in my opinion, if you're browning any omelet, it's a fail. If you're in my culinary school lab and I ask you to make an omelet and it's brown and crunchy on the outside, that's burned like anything else. I digress. We're talking about the parts of the egg, and one part that nobody ever talks about is the chalaise cord. And this is the really thick, twisted protein strand that anchors the yolk to the shell. Think about this. If the yolk just like floated free within the shell, every egg you cracked would have a scrambled yolk. This yolk has to be suspended directly in the middle of the egg, and the white acts as like styrofoam packing, I guess. The white acts as styrofoam packing, and the chalaise keeps the item, the yolk attached to the shell. You all know it. When you crack an egg and there's that strand, that just won't let go. But the thing is that this chalaise cord, it's not an embryo, okay? It's not an unborn chicken. I hear it all the time. Like, I had this long strand. It must have been a fertilized egg. Or if you see a little blood or red spot in your egg, that doesn't mean that it's a chicken and you're eating chicken. That's a chicken and egg thing. We'll get into that another time. But here's the important thing. The more prominent the chalaise, the harder time you have getting all of that egg out of the shell. You can be happy for that battle that's going on, because the fresher the egg is, the harder the chalaise. So how do you tell? How do you tell one fresh egg from another, or one egg that isn't as fresh as another? Well, eggs are graded by the U.S. Department of Agriculture or your state agency or whatever they do in other countries, but what they are generally given is a grade based on visual characteristics, okay? Some other things are quantified in another way, but here in the US, we give a grade of AA, A, or B based on the size of the egg, the interior quality, but not necessarily the size of the egg. So this is what I'm talking about. When I say size, I mean you crack the egg on a plate, and the more that it expands, the more that it runs, the less fresh of an egg it is. So not the size of the egg in the shell, okay? The weight of an egg, the size of the egg in the shell will dictate whether it's a jumbo egg, a large egg, and there are weight parameters for that. A large egg is under a certain amount of ounces or grams or so on. I'm not going to get into that today, but that has to do with large, jumbo, extra large, and so on, the size of the egg in the shell. Once you crack it, the size of the egg, the spread, the more it spreads, the less fresh the egg is. So if you crack a double A egg, this means that it's going to sit right up on the plate, nice, high and bright. The albumin, the white, is going to be thick and cloudy, right? You shouldn't be able to see through it. The yolk is going to be very high, very firm. A grade A egg obviously isn't going to have a broken shell, but the shell will be very smooth. It will be unstained. It won't have pitting in it. That is a perfect egg that you crack. A grade A egg you crack, it's going to spread a little bit more. The albumin, the white, is going to be a little bit more liquidy, all right? It's going to be a little more clear. And the egg yolk is still going to be firm, stands fairly high, but is going to be flat on the top a little bit of flattened out. The shell on a grade A egg, it can have some rough spots. It can have some pitting and a little bit of discoloration. But then when we get to B, crack the egg, it covers a wide area. The albumin is thin, it's watery, it's clear, you can see through it. The yolk is flat. It's usually like a dull yellow color. This is a B egg, and B eggs you usually don't buy at your grocery store. B eggs are used in food processing, other things like that. It's used for commercial things. But remember, egg quality, the grading and the sizes are entirely different, and they're not related. So just because you have a grade A egg, it doesn't mean it's the most nutritious. It doesn't mean it's the most delicious. It just means that it meets those certain characteristics. And obviously, they can't crack every single egg to see if it spreads or not and then put it back in the shell and sell it to you. So you're hoping that when they grade these eggs, that they're generalizing well, that they're taking the same characteristics, because ultimately it's still up to you to tell where you're buying the freshest eggs from. It's still up to you to be able to see that egg when you crack it, how far it spreads in the pan. And eggs, you should be selecting eggs on a basis of all of the characteristics of finding a really fresh egg. Not just one egg of all of them. I've gone to the store and swapped eggs out. Like, I look at one, I don't want that one in my dozen. You are reject. No, well, I don't throw it, obviously, but I'll go through 2 or 3 dozen eggs and put together my own select all-star team, because I can tell the difference in freshness. I can look at them, feel them. I can grade these eggs in my own mind, in my own head, in my own store. But you know what? I solve so much of that because I generally buy my eggs from the guy or girl that took the egg out from under the chicken at the farmer's market. Local eggs, and you just won't believe the difference. I've got a bunch of videos on it. If you go to my YouTube channel or my Facebook channel, you'll see the great egg challenge that went on. So, all right, now we got to store the eggs. We get the eggs home, and the thing about eggs are, with that shell, they'll stay fresh for a really long time, but only if they're in the right environment, because the egg quality goes down dramatically with improper handling and improper temperature. What might last, like a dozen eggs that might be fresh and wholesome for 3 weeks to a month, right? When they're stored correctly, can go bad very, very quickly. And as with any item in storage, there are 3 considerations of storing an item. Something I've been talking about all week for those of you that have seen this week's class. And it's air circulation, moisture, and temperature. Air circulation, moisture, and temperature are the 3 things that all items need to stay fresh or degrade. So eggs should always be stored at temperatures below 40 degrees Fahrenheit or 4.5 degrees Celsius. But the only problem with this is that the average refrigerator is 40 degrees Fahrenheit, or very often above. And the more you open and close your refrigerator, the higher the temperature is. You're stealing days from your eggs. So, well, Chef Todd, what am I, never supposed to open my refrigerator? That's not what I'm saying. You got to try and find the coldest part of your refrigerator. This means you store your eggs mainly in the top right or top left of your refrigerator. And the reason for top right shelf or top left shelf is most home refrigerators, all of them actually, work on the cold air from the freezer. There's not a compressor for the refrigerator. It funnels freezer air down into the refrigerator, and it usually, if your freezer is on top, it's going to come from that top corner. If your freezer is below, there are either air vents that circle it to the top, or it comes from below. Try and find that out and store your eggs closest to the coldest part of your refrigerator. And you know what? Even if you got one of those egg trays, like the built-in egg tray on the door of your refrigerator, don't bother. Don't use it. Don't store your eggs on the door. That's one of the warmest places in the refrigerator. If you open and close the refrigerator, the door is one of the warmest places. So these eggs that might have lasted 3 weeks, they can spoil in a third of the time if the temperature is just 1 or 2 degrees above 40 or 4.5. Eggs will age much more quickly at a warmer temperature. And keep in mind also, egg is a stink sponge, okay? I think I just made that term up, stink sponge. Eggs absorb bad odors, all right? So keep them away from stronger foods. Don't chop up an onion and then put it in your refrigerator right next to the eggs. I might even consider storing my eggs in an airtight container. I mean, the eggs are already in an airtight container with the shell, but you can put them in an airtight container so that they don't absorb those bad smells, because eggs don't need any air circulation. Eggs don't dry out. Eggs don't get soggy. So keep them away from the chopped garlic. Keep them away from the onions. Keep them away from the leftover Indian food in the fridge. Keep them away from any aromatic spices, that you may have in there. And lastly, never use dirty eggs. Never use cracked eggs. Never use broken eggs. They can quickly generate bacteria, or at least be a good platform for bacteria to grow. Other contaminants from the chicken as well. I'm not going to go into exactly where the egg emerges from the chicken, but it's not a clean place, okay? So the shell is very important. This built-in storage mechanism, the shell, right? If it's broken or cracked, this becomes potentially dangerous very quickly. And lastly, I do understand that eggs truly are the kitchen of the king of the kitchen. And I hope you understand this as well. And this will reveal why I have such a love affair with the egg, because they touch every single part of cooking and baking. It's unbelievable. Eggs are the king of the kitchen. Eggs bind things. If you're making a meatloaf or a lasagna or croquettes or crab cakes or things like that, the coagulation of the protein binds things, brings them together, stiffening and shrinking. They leaven baked goods, soufflés, sponge cakes, things like that. They thicken custards, sauces. They emulsify. They bring two unmixable ingredients together, like mayonnaises, salad dressings, hollandaise sauce. They coat and glaze. If you glaze your baguette with an egg wash, it gets this nice brown color and crispy texture. They clarify soups. If you've ever made consomme from a cloudy stock, in the bake shop, they inhibit crystallization in boiled candies and frostings. If you've ever learned how to make Italian buttercream, my favorite thing, and one of the last lesson weeks in all of web cooking classes is how to make that Italian buttercream. And lastly, they garnish. You put chopped eggs as a garnish on something, yolks, separate the yolks and whites, and garnish on something. Look, you can tell how excited I get about an egg because I challenge you. I challenge you to find any other food that does as much for cooking. Any other food that does as much for the human body. Any other food that is always cheap and always readily available. You can't do it. I know you can't. If you think there is a food that is better than an egg, go ahead and tell me in the comments. I'll discuss it with you. But there is no better egg. Eggs are nature's perfect food, and they are the cement that holds the castle of cuisine together. Oh, hey, by the way, do you know how to separate two eggs? Like this. I love that joke. Oh, that's so funny. It kills at the chef's convention. Separate two eggs. You get it? All right. Well, anyway, what's the time for? Oh, it's time for the dish of the week. So we're talking about eggs this week. I had to go searching through our Carefree Cooks community, our online Facebook community of lifetime members of web cooking classes. These are the people that are living, learning, and currently on the Carefree Cooking journey. They are headed to somewhere. So in the dish of the week this week, Angel's frittata, this nice looking frittata with shrimp, spinach, peppers, onions, nice looking egg dish. Nora did eggs with a Mornay sauce. Oh my goodness. Now, when you can combine a skill in making eggs, and we talked about the chef's test last week, I think, and eggs are a big part of it. I mean, to me, I could give a dozen eggs to a chef and say, make them 6 different ways. And he better be able to do that because, again, my love affair with the egg, blah, blah, blah. But when you start learning how to make sauces and combine this with your love affair of the egg, oh my goodness, you start doing eggs and hollandaise, eggs and mornay, eggs and bechamel, eggs and cheese sauce. It's outstanding. Betty did, there we go. Betty did scrambled eggs, but she also has scratch-made pancakes. She makes her own pancake batter, puts it all together, and then makes her scratch pancakes. So, Don's just showing off. He has perfectly sunny free-range eggs, pepper hash, his own house-cured bacon. It's like Don and Rose are running a bed and breakfast just for themselves, Amazing. When you make all that stuff, free range, own bacon, for those of us that have a true love of food and cooking and are on this journey together, it's things like that just really make me smile. And look, hey, a crepe. Crepe is really just an omelet with some flour mixed in. So Bob's knowledge of how an egg works helped him make some of the best crepes as well. These raspberry crepes that he did, outstanding. There are eggs all over our Carefree Cooks community. We all have egg on our face. I wouldn't say that. Anyway, can't be too witty all the time. The true or false today, I think I gave it away already. The color of an egg is determined by the breed of the hen. The yolk, is going to be brighter or duller based on the feed of the chicken, but only certain breeds of chicken lay brown eggs and white eggs. You don't get one chicken that lays both, is the idea. So those of you that wrote true, 10,000 extra points for you as well. And if you know someone who wants to know a little bit more about the cement that holds the castle of Cuisine together, that wants to start their own incredible love affair with eggs, please like this video, share it with them as well. Facebook will tell them about it, and you can directly tell your friends as well. And there is really nothing like having really fresh eggs. And actually, come to think of it, there's nothing like having really fresh everything. And if you'd like to peek into my 5-step plan that I use in my own home to find, select, store, cook, and season the freshest in-season ingredients, sign up for this week's free online class. It's how to cook fresh, seasonal ingredients to create fast, nutritious meals in 5 simple steps. And you can find a time that's convenient for you because I'm running classes all the time, always adding new sessions when you go to webcookingclasses.com/5-step plan. webcookingclasses.com/5-step plan. Thanks so much for being with me again today. Every Tuesday, live at noon Eastern, is the Carefree Cooks Code. And this is Chef Todd Moore reminding you that there's a method to your egg cooking success. See you next Tuesday. Bye, everyone.